Hello everybody. This video is going to be just a little bit different than the voice acting kind of showcases that I've been doing in my previous videos. I've had a couple of people, I guess, that have been curious about my workflow with the lip sync and how exactly that's done. I guess for those of you who are kind of following me, obviously we are adding voice acting to a lot of the characters that Goat Boy has been creating, and I've been spending time putting together a bit of a workflow to be able to kind of automate the lip sync process here. And so I guess I kind of wanted to show what the state of that project was, how exactly I go about doing the lip sync, and just kind of wanted to share that with you guys. So yeah, we just got in these lines for Joey today. We can kind of listen to one of them here.
I'm gonna cut you up, fucker!
So yeah, we're gonna see if we can go ahead and get the lip sync run. I'll kind of show you guys the process that I've put together here. This isn't really the final stage of the software that I'll ultimately want to deliver right now. It's just a bunch of random Python scripts. Eventually I'll work it into some sort of user interface that'll be a little bit easier to work with for the rest of the mod authors. But yeah, I can kind of give a brief overview here of all of the various different scripts I've written. So first and foremost, I've put together this dialogue extractor script. The whole idea here is it needs to analyze each of the script files for the characters to try and discern which particular lines within a MSG file are actually needed for the voice actor to speak. So, if we go and look at, got a bunch of reference .msg files here. So Joey's MSG file is this DC Joey here. So if we just kind of open this up for a second, each of these files are going to contain obviously a bunch of text, and not all of these are actually spoken by Joey. So, obviously you'll have some of the observations from the player. You see a thug or you see Joey. Yeah, so it's difficult to sometimes kind of discern which of these are actually spoken and which of these might be dialogue options from the player. So we have to try and be able to kind of extract which lines there are. Now we could just manually go through and kind of try and pick out which ones we think are actually voiced and which ones aren't. But the best way to do this is to actually just kind of look at the script. So I've already got Joey's SSL file kind of pulled out. And so the whole idea behind the script that I wrote here is that we need to go and look for any of the kind of GSay reply statements. Let's see if we can find one here. Search. So yeah, we're kind of looking for any of these, and it'll give us the number for the actual line within the MSG file that needs to be spoken. So most of them are pretty simple, but some of the lines can be a little more, just a little bit more complex, just kind of in the way that they're put together. I'm trying to see if there's any examples here in Joey's script, but it looks like his are fairly simple. That's all right. Let's go pull up. Oh, let's see here. We've got Metzger's script. Yeah, so Metzger's script is pretty complicated. Yeah, you can see here there's kind of a selection of various different strings that are going to be concatenated together. You might have the object name for the player and so on. So extracting these into a single line of dialogue for the voice actor to speak can be a little bit complex. So that's kind of the whole idea behind the script that I wrote here, is to be able to kind of analyze the syntax of each of those .ssl files and then extract the necessary lines of dialogue. So let's just go ahead and we can run this script and just kind of take a look at how that works. So the way this works right now is it looks at this pronoun list SSV or CSV file. So if we pull this pronoun list CSV file up, all it really is a description of the name of the script file that's being analyzed, the kind of nickname, I guess, or the short name that's used in the head.list file that lists all the different heads and how many frames they have and so on, and then a generic pronoun that particular character uses to reference the player. So in this case, we're looking at DC Joey. His short name is Joey D, I believe. And, perhaps Joey usually references the player as, maybe Punk. Something like that might make sense. we can't really use the player's name whenever the character's, speaking the player's name, for instance, because that would require all of our voice actors to go and speak, a bunch of different sample names. It would just kind of be a little bit too complex. So we're just kind of using a generic pronoun here. And let me double check to make sure that, yeah, DC Joey. Okay, so this should be correct. So yeah, the dialog extractor script just analyzes this file to see which of the different scripts we want to analyze. So if we just go ahead and run this, let's see, it's skipping temp DC Joey because I don't believe I have his SSL file in the temp folder. So let me go and replace that. There we go. Let's try and rerun that. So there we go. So it's gone through and it's read the dcjoey.ssl file, which we've already decompiled in sfall script editor. So now let's go and take a look at the txt temp folder where this particular script drops these off. And then it generates two different things. So we've got a line record, and the line record is just a list of the different MSG lines for the various kind of dialogues that Joey has that the voice actor is going to need to speak. It has a file name that's going to be used for the ACMs, the lip files, and the text file, which we're going to throw into the speech folder for the actual game files when we compile our DAT. And then it has the actual line that the voice actor needs to speak. And it's this file that I send to each of our voice actors, and so they can see what they need to name the file and the dialogue that they need to speak for that particular WAV file. So it also generates the list of separate .txts. Now, in the more complex case where we may have dialogue that needs to be concatenated together, so in the case of Metzger, like we saw earlier, where we may have various different strings that need to be concatenated together, this script that I wrote to extract the dialogue will actually create extra line numbers, usually starting with 5600 and working its way up. And that'll just be a concatenation string of the various different strings that make up that particular dialogue line. So anyways, that's kind of the first part of the whole process, is to kind of extract the script for the voice actor. I send that out to them, and then they will provide the WAV files or the the recordings of each of the lines that are in that particular character's dialogue. So that's what we have here. All right, so the next step is we need to go and process these. Now, usually the voice actors we've been working with have been pretty good about normalizing the audio and trying to cut out any leading or trailing silence. But I kind of want to standardize all the audio that we're putting into the game. So Audacity is kind of a really nice tool to be able to do this with. So Audacity has a wonderful feature called macros, which I've already created a couple of macros here to kind of support standardizing the audio. So I've got this Fallout 2 audio conditioning macro, and all this does is, it does a couple of things. So first we normalize the audio. I set the peak level to -2. I make sure there's no DC offset or anything else. I truncate all of the silence down to about half of a second. We just want to make sure that we eliminate any of the leading and trailing silence in that particular recording. And then I also kind of extend it by about half of a second of silence on either side. So in total, there should be roughly a second of no talking at the beginning and the end of each of the audio files. Then I convert it to mono, just in case they didn't record it in mono. And then I want to make sure to set the bit rate to 22050, or rather the playback speed to 22050 hertz, because this is the same playback speed for the ACMs. So anyways, I've got this macro, and I can apply it to all of Joey's files all at once. So you do that, and then Audacity is going to go through and standardize all of the audio recordings. I'll just run through, and then that's complete. So we can go and pull up all of his files. And I'll move those out of the raw folder, and then I'll just put that here in the normal wave section for Joey. Okay. So the next thing I'll usually do is I'll just run this wave merger script. All this is really doing is it's taking all these audio recordings and it is putting them into one single WAV file. This way I can play back all of the audio files and make sure that it matches Joey's script exactly and that the voice actor didn't deviate in one of the lines or make a mistake somewhere. So I've specified the new folder name, so I'll just go ahead and run that. And then it generates this file, which is, 3 minutes and 22 seconds long, which has all of his lines.
Hey, man, I'm Joey. What are you doing on my turf?
So, yeah, and then what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and take a moment to listen to all of his recordings, and I'll compare it against the line record that we generated earlier for Joey. And just make sure that all of his recordings match exactly what we have in his script. So once I feel confident that the recordings all line up with the various lines for that particular character's script, I know that everything sounds good, so we don't really need the concatenated WAV file anymore, so we'll go ahead and delete that. And then the next step is to run the ACM converter. So we need to take all of those WAV files that we just created and we standardized the audio for, and we need to convert them into the ACM format to actually be used in the game. So once again, I'm just going to specify Joey's file here. Obviously, when I go and release the actual software, you won't have to open up the source code and change this manually. This is just kind of how I'm running it at the moment. But anyways, we'll go ahead and run this, and that's going to convert all of those WAV files over to ACM. So we can see here that it's automatically created Joey's folder, and we've got all of his audio files here. Perfect. So now I've got the MSG generator software. So the whole idea behind this is we need to take the old MSG file and update it with the new lines that I created for that particular character, if there were any. In this case, there's not. There weren't any concatenated lines, which are, again, starting with like 5,600 and working their way up. There weren't any new lines that were generated for Joey, but this script does also go and add in the actual name of the audio file and the lip sync file that need to be played for any of those spoken lines. Because if we go look at the original MSG file, obviously Joey doesn't have any of these. All of these are closed bracket. It doesn't actually point to any sort of lip sync file. So we need to go and update that file so that way it points to all the correct playback sound files in the lip sync. So we'll go ahead and update this to point to Joey's script and his folder. And we'll go ahead and run. Hopefully there are no errors. It looks like everything's good there. So if we go and look, now we've got a message file for Joey. And you can see that it's added in pointers to the names of the files that actually need to be spoken for each of his lines of dialogue. These ones that are empty are most likely going to be, as I said, dialogue options that the character chooses, so we don't need recordings for those. So yeah, it's just automatically updated all of that, so that's lovely there. That's finished. Okay. And next thing we need to do is we need to run this script generator for the SSL. So the old SSL doesn't actually have, or rather, I think Joey's might actually be good. I don't think we need to update his per se, but we're going to run this anyways. But for some of the more complex characters, like what we saw earlier with, Metzger, anywhere where you've got this, concatenation of strings and stuff, this isn't going to point to a line number in the MSG file. It's actually just going to have a string that's going to be played back in the standard dialog box. And so it won't actually play the audio file. So this needs to go and get updated with the correct line number that we generated. So that way it actually points to the audio file and plays back the recording correctly. So in the case of Joey's, as I said, since all of his are actually line numbers, I don't think it's going to change anything. But for most of the characters, we've got, these more complex dialogue sets here. It's going to go and automatically update this with just a single number so that it plays back correctly. So yeah, we'll go ahead and run the generator. Shouldn't have any errors here. As I said, I'm pretty sure Joey's script is probably fine as it is. So run that. And oh, nope, we've got an issue. Oh, it's just because Joey's script's not in the pre-deployment folder. So I've just got things kind of separated out. The temp folder, it's just for anything that I haven't processed yet. I throw everything into the pre-deployment folder before it actually gets modified with the correct line numbers, and then that gets regenerated and thrown into the temp folder. So now his file is regenerated and it's thrown back in here. So this should be his finalized script. We'll just go ahead and add it with the rest of the characters that we've already added the dialogue for. And then of course we're going to need to compile this into a .int. We can of course do that through the sfall script editor. So I'll go ahead and open his updated SSL file for Joey, and then we'll just go ahead and compile. And compile is successful. So we now have his updated int here. So that's perfect. Okay. So we're done updating the SSL. Occasionally this will catch some errors. You will sometimes, or rather I sometimes bump into issues where for whatever reason when it goes and reads back the SSL, it may not actually find that particular line in the generated.msg file that I create. And so it'll throw a warning down here and it'll tell me, hey, I need to go back and make some hand edits to the script. I'm hoping to eventually get this script kind of robust enough to where it doesn't need to do that. And that it can kind of catch sort of any issue that you come across. And with some of the dialogue options, there's a really complex kind of decision tree that needs to be made that's like within the GSay reply message itself, which kind of makes it a bit more complex in terms of the syntax analysis. So yeah, sometimes I got to go back and just manually edit the SSL files. But 90% of the ones I've dealt with so far have been automatically regenerated using this script and haven't had an issue. But anyways, yeah, there's just more work to kind of do on this script to kind of make it seamless. But I'm still kind of working on that. So the next thing we need to run is the GRD generator, or the grid file generator. So this is I guess this is the bread and butter of the whole process here. This is what actually generates the lip sync files, or rather it generates the pre-processed lip sync files. So I didn't write the software that's behind this. This was actually done by, the software is called, I think, Pen to Final Analysis. It was created by, I guess, Penn University. It's another Python script, which I'm basically calling repetitively on the different audio recordings. And it's generating each of the different lip sync files. The way it works is it uses a method called forced extraction, which uses the actual script that's being said in conjunction with the audio file recording to be able to extract each of the phonemes, which are just the different sounds within each of the word. And it basically creates a timestamp for each of those sounds. And then I take that and then I generate it into the Fallout 2 specific format that the game can actually read. So if we look in here, the way this works is it uses a dictionary. And this dictionary has, a bunch of different words in here and the various different phonemes. These are just, random phoneme codes that explain which sounds are made for that particular word. And so the script that I wrote basically just calls that script repetitively on each of the audio files. Now, unfortunately, the P2FA script was generated to originally be run on Linux. So I can't actually run it natively on my Windows machine because it doesn't work with the command prompt, commands. So I've got to run an Ubuntu at the moment. I'll probably end up taking that script and converting it so that it uses the Windows-specific commands for command line. But for now, I have to open it up at Ubuntu window and run it this way. So we'll go ahead and run Python 3, go to the generator. And so it's going to go through and it's going to analyze each of the audio files from our voice actor. Occasionally, as you'll see right here, it's kind of moving too fast, so it'll be hard to tell. But occasionally it catches words that aren't in the dictionary. So I've got to look out for those. And if they're not in the dictionary, I need to go back and manually add them in. So that way the script here knows how to actually analyze those words and determine where each of the phonemes are that are being said by our voice actor. So obviously there's some specific stuff here like tubbies. That's not really a word in the dictionary. So I'll have to go in and add an entry for that. In some cases, there may be a hyphen attached to a word and it might throw the extraction off. So I'll have to go in and remove this hyphen most likely from the text file that was generated earlier. In some cases, you'll get errors where it can't actually run the lip sync. So these kind of require a little bit of debug. So we can do kind of an online debug session here real quick to see if we can work out what exactly is happening. So let's take a look. That's Joey 6. We'll start off by looking at the script and see if we can determine what's throwing it off. Let's see, Joey D 26, right? Yes, okay. So, first thing I noticed is there's a bunch of ellipses in here, so that could be throwing it off. None of the other words really have any punctuation that I would think would be a problem. So I'll probably start off by maybe changing these into commas. And yeah, and I'll rerun the script and see if that seems to extract fine. And then yeah, obviously I'll have to go through and fix some of these. Fucker is not in the dictionary, so yeah, I'll have to go add that as well. So yeah, I need to go and fix those dictionary entries. It should only take a couple of minutes, and then I'll be right back. So we just finished rerunning the grid extractor, and it looks like we got a clean run. There's no missing words here from the dictionary. There's no errors. So this looks good to go. And now it's generated all of these grid files that we can use to analyze the lip sync. These are not Fallout 2 specific. Obviously, we will translate these into the .lip files. But in this .grd form, we can use another bit of software that I've got called prot. Now, I did not write this myself, but it's great for analyzing the audio recordings against the GRD files before we go ahead and translate them into the LIP files. Now, I'm familiar with the lip sync, I guess, software that somebody's already written for Fallout 2, and supposedly it works okay. I'm not too familiar with it. I suspect I can translate these directly into the LIP files, and it wouldn't cause a problem. But for now, this is just kind of what I'm working with. So I usually just go and import all of the WAV files and the GRD files, and then I can pull up this display which shows the audio file against the extracted words and the different phonemes here. So what I'll do is I'll go one by one and just kind of listen to them.
I'm gonna cut you up, fucker!
And just kind of make sure that the audio file lines up with each of the words.
Gonna cut.
And you can see, like right here,
Gonna cut.
this doesn't quite line up with the word cut. It's kind of crossing into gonna a little bit, so we can go and change this.
Gonna cut.
So it looks like cut maybe starts here.
Cut.
And so we can just kind of adjust where each of these words fall to make sure that they line up with the words that are actually being spoken.
I'm gonna.
So gonna kind of starts a little bit later.
I'm gonna.
So I can kind of move these around a little bit. And you can kind of play with it to figure out how detailed you want to get with, you know, placing each of the sounds and words and things. But this is probably good enough.
I'm gonna.
Maybe move the I'm in just a little bit. So, but anyways, yeah, so what I'll do is I'll go and, you know, analyze each of them just to kind of make sure that they all, you know, seem to, you know, work and line up with the audio file the way we would expect them to. You can spend as little or as much time on this part as you want, just to kind of perfect the lip sync. Most of the extractions are actually fairly accurate. If you've got a little bit more of an accent like Joey here, though, it may not line up perfectly. So there's just some minor hand edits. This is probably the longest part in the entire process, is going through and just looking at each of these. But I'll probably be spending the next 15 minutes or so just kind of quickly taking a look at all of these and making sure that the lip sync extraction here lines up with the audio files. And so now that I've checked each of the grid files here and the lip sync looks pretty clean now, the last step is to actually go and generate the lip files, which are actually read by the game. So yeah, the last script I have basically converts each of those GRD files into the lip file. Now, you know, I spent quite a bit of time perusing the Wikia, trying to understand how exactly these lip files are formatted. I've actually made quite a few updates on here as I was kind of looking through it. Kind of figured out what each of the phoneme codes are, and you know, what those sounds kind of corresponded to. And so yeah, I was able to take that and kind of analyze the format of the GRD files, which fortunately are ASCII readable. So if we kind of open this up with any basic text editor, you can kind of see where it begins to kind of outline where each of the different sounds are for a given file, and then it gives you the start and ending of where, you know, that particular sound is. So we have to take this and we got to convert it into the binary format for the lip file. So you can open up any sort of binary reader. If we go and open up an example of one of the lips, this is one for Clint. Yeah, it's not really text readable, because it's a binary file. But anyways, so we got to translate those ASCII files into the lips. And so that's all the script does. It goes and reads all of the GRDs in this folder and then converts it into LIPs. It says H is not on the list. That's because in one of the files, I think I went and manually edited it and I accidentally put H instead of double H. So I need to go back and correct that. So give me just a moment. But anyways, yeah, we'll go ahead and run the script to generate the lip files for each of the GRDs. And so yeah, it doesn't take really hardly any time at all to run. And if we go and look now, we have got all of these lip sync files. So that's pretty much it. So I've generated all the lip files. We've got the ACMs, we've got the updated scripts and the updated MSG files. I'm probably going to create some sort of way to automatically kind of deploy it into the mod folder so I don't have to manually kind of copy everything over. But yeah, so all we need to do now is go ahead and copy everything into, I've got this kind of data mod folder that I'll eventually turn into a DAT file here in a second. But we just need to go through and copy all of Joey's assets, all the new files and everything, into that folder. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Alright, once we have everything copied over for Joey, I'm going to go ahead and create the updated patch file for the audio here using the Data Explorer. So go ahead and delete the previous version. And let's open up, where do I have that? Data Explorer 2. We can create a new one for Fallout 2. I'm just going to place it basically directly above Goat Boy's Talking Heads mod. This is the audio patch. And then we will import that folder that we were making all the edits to. And then we'll just save the .dat file. Okay, and that should be it. So let's see if we can find Joey in game and we can go ahead and test him out now here for the first time. Let's see, so I believe Joey is in the den, if I recall. I'm actually going to need to look it up. I think he's in the den. Yes, so Joey is in the den, west side. I believe this was west side, and I think that's Joey. Could be wrong here, but let's take a look.
Hey, man. I'm Joey. What are you doing on my turf?
Your turf? I don't think so.
Nobody talks to me like that.
I just did. You do anything more than talk? Oh, and we've pissed him off. But I kind of want to see more of his dialogue lines, so let's go back.
Hey, man. I'm Joey. What are you doing on my turf?
I'm looking for some information.
What do you want?
You ever heard of Vault 13?
Vault 13? Nope, never heard of it. Don't tell me they've come up with another new drug. Nothing can beat Jet.
No, it's a place. Can I ask you something else?
What do you want?
Nothing that you can provide.
Nobody talks to me like that.
My apologies. I'm looking around and don't know the area.
Hey, I got some Jet. It's great stuff, brand new from Reno. You want some?
How much?
For you. I will sell Jet for $500.
No thanks, bye.
You'll be coming back.
Don't count it. Anyways, you guys get the point. Yeah, so there's some kind of fixes and things that need to be made. I think the audio, or the volume is not quite balanced right with the rest of the game. I'm not sure. There's just kind of minor things that we need to fix. And then, of course, yeah, so this isn't going to be the final product that I'll eventually deliver to the rest of the mod authors. Right now it's just a bunch of Python scripts. Yeah, so I need to kind of perfect this. I've kind of started some initial work on a user interface. Just kind of a concept of what I want to do. Obviously, there's nothing displayed here yet. I've just kind of been using Photoshop to kind of create a background and some other things. But yeah, hopefully I'll kind of clean it up, make it a little bit more kind of easy to use. Yeah, and I'll have to give a demo of that once that's available. But in the meantime, yeah, we've got kind of a lot of work to do. Right now we're up to, I think it's like 102 or 3 characters or so that we're kind of working on casting right now. There's some new ones that I need to find the scripts for. But yeah, we've kind of got a lot on our plate, so that's kind of what we're going to be working on moving forward here for a little while. And yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching. Sorry if the material was a bit dry. This is just kind of the state of the software right now. And yeah, I'm going to get back to it. So thanks and take care.